Hi, welcome back to another episode of Art World Confessions. Today I'm going to talk about the what's in it for me mentality. And this is a phrase that I've heard multiple times in a certain context in gallery spaces. And one day I was on a call and I happened to have the call on speakerphone. And my young son, I think he was 5 years old at the time, he heard this phrase, and for the last couple years, whenever I ask him to do things, he comes back to me with this what's in it for me phrase. And if you know where this phrase was first heard, where he heard this first phrase, we're talking about decades and decades and decades of people going around saying this to others when faced with a request. Whether that request is to their liking or not is not really important. What is important is the attitude that, okay, you asked me for this, now what's in it for me? I mean, if you think about things coming from the top down, if you think about how employees interact with each other, how they operate in a gallery space, in a business context, well, what's in it for me? It tells you a lot about how things are run. I remember once I was working on a painting and I asked someone who was working under the what's in it for me guy for something, and that employee, who's now working on his own, said exactly those words, what's in it for me? At the time I didn't really have anything in it for him besides perhaps sharing a commission or something, but you get where I'm going with this. Going a little further into that from the top-down mentality, a few years back in Venice, before this whole Me Too movement, I remember speaking to a male dealer in the same gallery, and since then that male dealer was terminated. I think the Me Too movement caught up with him, so to speak. And I'm not sure what he's working on these days, but you know, in the art world, people are very forgiving, especially men. When it comes to making money and doing deals and stuff like that, they'll soon forget about all that Me Too brouhaha and just continue working with the same person who had been publicly shamed in the press and who had been ignominiously fired from his job because of many years of female employees complaining about him. So we were in Venice and we were at a party, and I said, oh, you know, I had just come from one other party to this party. I said to him, oh, I just saw blah, blah, blah at that party and I think she's going to join us. And he was like, oh, what was she doing? Was she down on her knees giving a BJ to a collector? And I for a moment, I didn't know what to reply, but I mentioned it to his employer at the time, his boss, and his boss said nothing. He looked a little bit shocked. He seemed to take a mental note of it, but I don't think anything was done until, like I said, this whole Me Too wave overtook the same person and carried him under. And that's the other side of the art world too. You know, there's a bunch of people that want to come into the art world. They ask me very often, oh, can you get me an internship for my child? Or can you do this? Or can I get a job? How can I get a job? Everybody wants to work in the art world, whether it's the publishing art world, the visual arts art world, any of the art worlds. You know, it's saturated with people who think it's a glamorous industry and they really love it and they love working with art and how amazing that is, blah, blah, blah. It certainly sounds better than slogging away as a finance guy for many years and losing your youth, turning gray, blah, 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 as a lawyer. But it has its challenges as well, as you can very well see. And, you know, if your parents aren't paying all your bills for you and all of your rent and lifestyle and blah, blah, blah isn't paid for, and if you're not the collector of a famous, if you're not the son or daughter of a famous collector, well, that will help you to get a job. Other than that, you just really have to work super hard and struggle and fight, and sometimes it's not so pretty working with other colleagues who may also have the same agenda of moving up the corporate ladder in whatever space that they're working in. And this doesn't necessarily even mean in a for-profit gallery space. There's tons of stuff that goes on in the non-profit world as well that's not pretty, but that's a whole other ball game. Anyways, I think that's a lot for today's Art World Confessions. It's a lot to digest. Everything I'm talking about is nothing new. People know all these things already. I just happen to be the one saying them here today on this program. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you learned a little bit. By all means, if you're interested in the art world, go and explore it, and just be prepared for anything that were to come in front of you. And I mean just about that, anything. I have another episode coming. I've been brainstorming how much I could say and how much I shouldn't say about the romantic relations between people in a gallery context or in any other art world context. I think that's going to be a very juicy episode. So stay tuned. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know when I upload the next episode. And by all means, share these with your colleagues. At some point, once I get over the threshold which allows me to go live, I will take you along to some of the fun art world things that I do, and you'll get to see some insider point of view. Some things are not supposed to be viewed publicly, as we talked about in the first episode. Discretion is key. But some things are just fun, like a party. And, if you're into art, these things are fun and funny. So have a great week, and join me again for another episode of Art World Confessions. Thank you.